Hello everybody, welcome back to Friday Chapter 1, Miss Stephanie here. This week I'm bringing you a fun juvenile fiction book. The title is The Boy Who Grew Dragons. The author is Andy Shepard and there's an illustrator. Her name is Sara Ogilvie. There's lots of fun dragon drawings and other things in here. There's a little intro I'm going to read before I get to Chapter 1, so here we go. When people ask me what we grow in Granddad's garden, I think they expect the answer to be cucumbers, tomatoes, or green beans. I don't think they expect the answer to be dragons. But there it is. We grow dragons. And I can tell you this, they're a lot more trouble than cucumbers. Cute little dragon. They're cute. Alright, ready? Chapter 1. Battle of the Bongle. It started about a year ago, and it was all Granddad's fault. Well, his and the jelly donuts. I was just licking the last of it off my fingers when he said, "We should grow our own, Chipstick." "Donuts?" I asked. "Raspberries," he grinned. "Then we can make our own jelly for Nana's donuts. We could mix them up too. Strawberry and blackberry, gooseberry and raspberry. Just think of the possibilities. Delicious." It did make a pretty good picture in my head. A vast, plate-sized jelly donut with different colored sections like a multi-topping pizza. "And more too," Granddad went on, before I could dive further into the jelly dream. "Radishes, beans, onions, cauliflowers, you name it, we could grow it." Suddenly, I wasn't so sure it was a great idea. Strawberry and cauliflower jelly? Ew! Anyway, I had enough fruit and vegetables to deal with, what with Mom shoveling in my 5 servings a day. I mean, she even sneaked dried fruit into perfectly good flapjacks. As if I wouldn't notice. But Granddad wasn't one to let go of an idea once it had fluttered down and settled. So on Saturday morning, there we were, at the end of his garden, up to our ears in mud, digging away at what looked to me like a monster jungle. In fact, I was beginning to realize why Mom had offered me provisions for my trip to the Amazon. Without the nettles and brambles, my grandparents' garden was probably half as big and still ran all the way down to the fields and beyond. "I've been wanting to dig into this since we moved in," Granddad told me, pausing to catch his breath. "But what with one thing or another, I just haven't found the time." I stopped digging and scraped my shovel across a chunk of mud. I know you have no idea what he was talking about, but I did. I knew exactly what he meant by one thing or another. "Sorry," I muttered, because I really was. He rested his arms on his shovel and leaned towards me. "Now there's something you should know about my granddad. He twinkles." That might sound weird, but he does. There's a phrase, to have a twinkle in your eye, which means to be bright or sparkling with delight. Well, my granddad has the biggest twinkle of anyone I've ever known. And right then, he was shining that twinkle down on me till I felt its warmth flooding every bit of my body. And it was like I'd sat down in front of the toastiest marshmallow toasting fire. "Now then, Chipstick, how many times have I told you? What's the deal with families?" I smiled. "They stick together." "Exactly," he grinned. "Not unlike jelly donuts. Now get digging." So I did. The worst thing to dig up with this stuff Granddad called bongleweed. It wound itself around everything, clinging to roots and shoots and shrubs for dear life. Soon enough, I was in an almighty tug-of-war, boy against plant. And for a moment there, it really looked as if the evil bongle plant overlord might win. But I dug, and scraped, and pulled, and heaved, until all that was left was a patch of earth, and the strangest looking plant I'd ever seen. It was taller than me, and my blistered hands would have only made it halfway around the trunk. Except it was hard to see the trunk because of all these long, green cactus arms that draped down. "It looks like a giant upturned mop head," declared Granddad. But, you know, green and spiky and knobbly too. Bizarrely, he wasn't far off. Sprouting from some of the cactus arms were vivid yellow and orange tendrils like bursts of flames, and in each one of those nestled a fruit. Some were large and red and looked like they were ready to burst. Others were small and green and looked new. But all of them had a weird, spiky, pineapple-like leaves. They were so unlike anything I'd ever seen in our fruit bowl at home. I found myself reaching up to touch them. I noticed one of the smaller fruits had already turned red, but the tendril it was attached to was being pushed down by the weight of a few larger fruits hanging above. I gently lifted it and moved it to one side to give it some space. Look at this plant. That's what he's dealing with. Crazy. And as I did, I saw something even weirder. "Hey, Granddad," I called. "It's glowing. Like those fireflies, do you remember? Dad said it was bioluminescence or something. He said some jellyfish do it too." "Bioluminescence," Granddad corrected. He peered at the red fruit and rubbed a finger across it. "I bet it's just mold," he said. "Come on, Chipstick, I'm famished." "But what is it?" I asked. Granddad wrinkled his nose. "No idea, but we can pull it off tomorrow." I looked at the spiky red fruit that was glowing in my hands, and whether I pulled it a little too hard or just chose that moment to fully ripen one way or another, the fruit dropped from the vivid tendril. Looking at it in my palm, somehow I didn't feel like throwing it into the bonfire pile, so I tucked it under my arm before following Granddad inside. Later, when I got home, I pulled the pineapple-y sprouting fruit on my desk and typed "strange spiky fruit" into the search engine on my computer. Pictures popped up, and there it was, right next to durian, which smells like poop apparently, so it was dead lucky we didn't find those. No, here it was. Size of a mango, red, spiky, pineapple-like leaves. Definitely what I had sitting in front of me. I clicked on the picture and read the caption. Pitaya, or dragon fruit. Yep. Now, it's easy for you because you know there's about to be a dragon, but I was clueless back then. I mean, if someone gives you a fairy cake, you don't expect Tinkerbell to pop out of it, do you? So I didn't jump up and down screaming, "Whoopee, I'm getting a dragon!" I just left it on the desk and went downstairs for dinner. And that probably wasn't the best idea, you know, because of what happened next. Well, there's chapter 1. If you want to find out what happens next, you can put this title in hold, The Boy Who Grew Dragons by Andy Shepard. And I'll see you next time. Bye!